Since the campaign activities was flagged off on September 28, 2022, the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has crisscrossed the entire country soliciting for support and votes of eligible Nigerians. The former two-time governor of Lagos State, who had publicly declared that becoming the president of the country has been his lifelong ambition, has not looked back as he takes his campaign to the high and mighty, rich and poor, meeting with several stakeholders in order to realize his ambition. The party has also enjoyed support from all parts of the country. With a few days to the election, the supporters of other political parties have declared support for the APC candidate. How will this impact on the outcome of the election? We are here in the studio with APC chieftain here, Mustafa Audu, who will be talking to us about some of the recent developments in the APC. Thank you for joining us, Mustafa, on Daybreak this morning.
Thank you for having me here today, and good morning to all Nigerians.
Yeah. All right, well, let's start with how far the campaigns have gone, and amidst the recent crisis of the cash crunch, the APC appears to be somewhat in disarray as a result of this new policy of the central bank. We are having now a situation where members of the APC are frontally and openly attacking the leader of your party, President Muhammadu Buhari, as a result of this. There are those who feel, well, this could have been managed better.
Absolutely. To be honest, if you look at the history of the APC was formed out of a need to make a difference. You know, politicians, Nigerians, many people came together to form the APC to make sure things are done differently. And that spirit is still alive in the APC. So yes, President Muhammadu Buhari is the leader of the party, is the leader of the federal government and Nigeria. But at the end of the day, there are some policies which have been very good for Nigerians, its implementation. And there are some policies which we feel have not been so great, especially its implementation. If you look at the cashless policy that you just spoke about 1.9 trillion naira was mopped up from the economy, which is fantastic. You've seen many of its effects, such as security has improved, kidnapping has virtually gone down to zero, mopping up to help strengthen the economy. These are this policy has been very good in ensuring those, but you can also see the negative effects, such as, the cash crunch. If 1.9 trillion is removed and only 300 billion is printed and put back in the economy, then there's a lot of issue.
Is it 300 billion?
300 billion.
400 billion from what we understand. And we understand that 300 billion will be injected in the system. So that's 700 billion naira.
Well, from the reports we've read, was 300 billion. It could be that an additional 100 billion maybe has been printed and kept aside for security agencies, INEC, things like that, to carry out their functions effectively. We're hoping that that's the situation. But if you look at it, this is the time that Nigerians move the most. Every 4 years, all Nigerians move about, and at the same time, and that's because of elections. A lot of people want to exercise their franchise, and getting about usually costs money. Of course it costs money, and logistically it becomes a logistical nightmare without access to cash, to funds. If you look at transfer, most of the banks pay for bandwidth for about 30% of their customers, because a lot of their customers are in the rural areas, they're in the hinterlands, they're not really doing transfers. But right now you have all the customers of the bank are now being put on the digital platform without the infrastructure being appropriate to handle that amount of traffic. That's why we see a lot of people trying to do transfers and they are unable to.
So, Mustafa, with all of this happening 4 days to the election, do you not think that it will impact your party negatively?
At the end of the day, you have to look at it from two perspectives here. One is the fact that Mr. President is trying his possible best to clean the electoral process. We've had over the years, issues, reports, a lot of problems with vote buying. Vote buying has caused a lot of issues. So trying to eliminate these, people will see that, on the one hand, the federal government is trying its best to implement free, fair, and most importantly, credible elections. Then on the other hand, you have the governors who are also speaking on behalf of the voters and the people to say that this cash crunch is causing a lot of civil disobedience, it's causing a lot of anger, bank staffs are being attacked, banks are being burned, people are rioting, so it's causing issues.
There are those who will argue that the governors are not necessarily speaking for the people. There are accusations that these governors have probably stashed cash that they intend to use for vote buying, which is why they are running helter-skelter in the courts. If you take, for instance, a statement by the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, he said that the governors are inciting comments, emboldening people to attack banks and the rest of them. So if you look at statements from Governor of Kaduna State, who gave more like a counter-directive to what the president has said and all that.
What the governor, okay, I'll take this. You've asked 2-3 questions. Let me take it one at a time. What the governor was saying was that obey the courts, obey the Supreme Court decision. I think that's why we've had crisis meeting in the party. The governors have met with the National Working Committee of the party. They've also met with the Chief Justice of the Attorney General, of the Federation, to try and implement the decision of the Supreme Court, because not going with the decision of the Supreme Court in itself doesn't portend, good things for our democracy, good things for our leaders. If you don't respect the law, then how would you expect your followers to either respect you or respect the law?
Don't forget that this decision of the court is being challenged.
Yeah, absolutely. But the decision must subsist till 22nd, where the Supreme Court will sit again and make its final decision or another pronouncement. I don't know what the courts will do. So that's what the governor is stressing. On the other hand, what the candidate of the PDP is just trying to say is just trying to play to the galleries in reality. We've seen them on the one hand go to court to challenge the decision. We've seen them make statements that the money will affect Nigerians. We've also seen them make statements saying, they've said so many things. So listening to them, that's not what we're about. We're about listening to Nigerians. What do Nigerians want? How can we appease them? The president wants clean, free, fair, credible elections, which is what Nigerians are yearning for. Nigerians want to be able to exercise their franchise and know that it matters. If you hear a lot of young people today, they vote on Big Brother Titan, over 900 million votes.
So,
and if you ask them...
How about the allegations that the governors are not necessarily doing this in the interest of the people, but rather because they have stashed?
That's another great one. You see the cash swap policy right now, it's already in place. Anybody brings a huge sum of money to come and deposit, you should ask questions immediately. You should arrest them immediately. And if they have immunity, build up a case. But if you also look at, some governors have come out on TV and said they know of other governors who are trading for the money. You'd buy maybe 100 million for 120 or 150 million. If you go to the black market today, you can, where the BDCs are, you can buy Naira for 2 to 1, 5 million Naira for 10 million Naira. It's unbelievable.
All right, Mustafa, but I mean, this is the first time, at least I've covered a couple of elections, and this is the first time that I'm seeing a ruling party divided for very close to the election. I mean, it's 4 days to the election, and we are hearing, it appears as if the ruling party has opposition from within. Are you not worried about that?
No, I'm not. If you look at the previous party that was in power, when the roof was on fire, when everything was burning, they sat down there comfortable saying, everything is okay, Nigerians would always be here. And just like he had mentioned, some of them even said they'll be in power for 60 years. But for us, it's completely different. When people see something that is not going right, they will say that this is not going right, so that they know that passion, that drive that led the APC to be created is still well and alive. I'm a young person in the party, and I support some of the policies of Mr. President, and some policies I'm not a strong supporter. The ones that I support, the things that he has done, I'll come and I'll embellish them, and I'll talk about how nice they are. And the ones that are not so great, I'll talk about its negative impact. That's what Nigerians want to see. Honest, truthful politicians. This is the most important facet of our lives, of any Nigerian, of anybody in the world. Politics guides what you do, your infrastructure, your lives. It's good to have good, honest people in there.
Fighting itself in such a way we have seen in the past few days, so openly. You have even members of cabinet under the president who are opposed to his policies, and some who are in support. So you have, even from within the same cabinet, a divided people. So how do you take that into a general elections and expect victory?
Well, we do expect victory simply because Nigerians can see that, yes, we are the ruling party, but there are some things that we can accept, and there are some things that we would go against and speak about, dependent on how that policy is being implemented. The fight here is not against the cashless policy. We have all agreed, broad spectrum, that the cashless policy is fantastic for Nigerians in the long term. Its implementation in the short term is the problem, because if you look at now, it's creating a lot of crime. You see bank managers peddling Naira. You see a lot of things happening. Just like I previously mentioned, Naira is being traded for Naira. Never before have we heard, I've never heard anything like this in my life before. And I'm sure it's strange to a lot of people that, Naira cost money, for Naira, you purchase Naira now. So there are things like this, that these are the negative effects. And if we see these negative effects being, occurring, happening to citizens, if we see that citizens are going out there to protest, causing civil disobedience, then the onus is on us to tell Mr. President, to inform him that this policy, its implementation can be improved. There needs to be more money printed. The Naira, the current Naira needs to be, that's the new Naira, needs to be used pari passu with the old Naira, just to make sure that the hardship is reduced on Nigerians. But anybody that comes to deposit a large sum of money, anything above, let's say, 2 million, because you have traders that trade with, 1 million, 1 point something, but anybody comes with 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, at this stage, should be arrested. There's nothing for it.
All right, talking about the polls, and you mentioned victory while we were talking, and my mind went to Adamawa. Yesterday, the APC support group and the Nuhu Ribadu support group, they defected from the APC and moved to the PDP. What do you say to that? This is, first of all, this is the first time I'm hearing about that, but anything happening in Adamawa, you can see why it's happening in Adamawa. It's simple. The presidential candidate of the other party is from Adamawa. So it's not hard for him to entice those that are, from the same state as him with promises or financial inducement. I don't know. I don't know what he's done or what, but if that happens, you can see why. It's more than obvious. It's like me, I'm from Kogi State, I'm Igala. It's easy for me, if I was running for president, to speak to other Igala people and say, hey, jump on board, I have something for you. The reason I ask is because I have seen some APC supporters celebrating the collapse of structure, because we've seen Labour Party collapse some of its structure for the
Northwest and the Southwest.
However, some people may argue that your biggest competition in this race is the PDP.
Absolutely. There are only two parties in the... I'm a young person, right? I've been in politics now 17 years. So I have a little more experience than a lot of other people who are just coming into the game. And I can tell you categorically, there are only two parties in this race. But the other two additional parties, which is the NNPP and the Labour Party, have made this a more interesting race, has made it not so clear-cut. And Labour Party, who seems to have a lot of support in like the big cities and the Southeast and part of the Southwest, is fantastic for us, because First of all, the Southwest Labour Party has decamped to join us.
So they've debunked that story.
No, they have. They came out on TV, so it doesn't matter. Some people will go out and debunk, but even the governorship candidate, Northwest, the entire structure from Can, all of them sat down and decamped. But let me just finish what I'm trying to say now, right? So if you look at Labour Party, for example, its biggest strength is Southeast. So Southeast has never been APC. They actually don't like us, you know. They always vote for PDP. So for example, Abia in the last election, APC had over 80,000 votes, while PDP had 300,000 votes.
Don't you consider that as a problem when you say the Southeast doesn't like the APC?
An entire region.
An entire region. And we are talking about winning election by having a spread of at least winning 25% in 24 of the states. Don't you consider that as a problem?
It's not a problem. We only need 24 states to win the election, and we will win the election. Now, I don't know why a lot of I'm just speaking factually. I don't know why a lot of the Southeasterners don't like the APC. Usually it's based on ethnicity, and maybe because our president is Fulani, people generally from the Southeast, it's not about me, except we don't want the truth. This is just simply the truth.
Governors anyways from the
Yes,
South,
we do have two governors. I'm just saying generally. So we do have governors, we do have senators. In Abia, we have Senator Ojius Okalu, who is the chief whip. In Imo, we have the governor, His Excellency Hope Uzodinma.
Okay, because
in
of time,
Ebonyi, we also have a governor.
Because of time, we can't go on like that. So briefly, maybe in 1 minute, talk to us about your rally, the final rally.
The grand finale. I'm just about to leave here and head to Lagos for the grand finale. I know it's going to be fantastic. You can see the previous one in Borno where millions of people came out. It's unbelievable. Likewise, we believe in Lagos today. Everybody will know. We as a party, we believe it's time for power shift. The power has been in the north for 8 years. It's time to be inclusive, you know. We want the power to move to the south, and we know that the south understands that because it takes everybody to be part of the Nigerian dream. So I think today there will be a large show of force. We've seen other parties, their Lagos finale. Let's show them what Lagos is all about and how we would bring in the vote. So it's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be amazing.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Mustafa Audu, chieftain of the All Progressives Congress and also member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, for joining us on Daybreak this morning and giving us some more insight here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Well, we've come to the end of the program for today. In case you've missed, you can always catch us across all social media platforms and also on YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ida. Let's do this again tomorrow.
Thank you for welcoming us into your homes this morning. Join us same time, same station tomorrow. My name is Stella Iyaji, and do have a very pleasant day.